something bad could happen. We want to select our clavicle again. Now this looks crazy. You can select it here. I think you can select it in Outliner. Nope, let's not do that. You probably can, but I don't want to make things too confusing if you're new, or if you're just following along for the first time. You can zoom in and select your clavicle by going here back to this wireframe, and you want to select this yellow piece right there. And so now we have the whole arm selected again, which is what you want. So let's turn back on smooth shade, and let's hit R, and let's scale this up. And then you want to keep an eye on where this pivot is at. I think it can go down a little bit more. This is uniform scale, so even if you try to scale in these other axes, it's not going to work for you. So just, you want to grab the yellow cube and scale that. Now this looks like it's in a better position. Even for the hands, it looks like it's in a better position. Because all we're going to want to do is rotate our forearm a little bit after we rotate this. So let's go back to our upper arm. Here's something good to keep in mind. Let's go to our tool settings, and let's change this to local instead of world. What this allows you to do is use the actual axes for anything you select. So in world mode, as you saw before, everything was still like kind of zeroed out to the world. But if you use local orientation, because we rotated it down almost 45 degrees, our axes are going to complement that, or are going to match that. So when we start rotating it again, we're not going to have some funky values. We're going to be seeing a true local axis. So now that we want to rotate it again, we can go on our Y and rotate a little bit more down. And we want to rotate it on our Z. That's why I want to go to local, because Z would have been flat, and it would have been a weird rotation that you're actually doing it on. So this one, we want to be able to take our arm and go this way with it. That back and forth. It's hard to show while I'm sitting down, but you want to do the back and forth as if you're bringing the arm forward in front of you. And this is only so we can get this pivot to match better to the arm. That may be a bit much. That looks pretty good. It needs to be centered, because your elbow is still like centered right here. The actual pivot where it is like right there. If you can put your hand on, you can feel that's where it's at. So yeah, so let's leave that where it is. We might be able to rotate down on our Y a little bit more, but you don't want to go too much. So I'll just leave it right here for now. So now let's save again, and let's select our forearm, and then go on our Z axis, and you want to rotate that forward. Now see, that's not fitting, which means we need to rotate back up on here so that the arm fits better. See, the contours are a lot better. Yeah, that's a lot better. That's nice. So that's good. You want to keep that like that. For the hand, we can rotate that down. And I believe we can scale the hand more if we want to without messing up everything else. So we can scale the hand up a little bit more, just so the fingers are long enough. We just want to make sure the palm is in the right spot too. Save your file before you start going in here tinkering around with stuff. Save your file. So let's look at where the placement is. That looks pretty good. I'm just trying to size up where the hand is right now. Let's rotate it a little bit back on the y-axis. And so now what I'm looking for is I'm looking for that joint that I was telling you about that's right here on the hand, which is down off in the hand, you know, as opposed to people putting it right here. You see how much you lose? You lose so much when people put the joint right here because they think this is where the hand joint goes because of the webbing of the hands. It actually goes down off into the palm, the back hand of the palm a little bit more. So that would be this area. So that's pretty good. That looks pretty good of where it would be for the rotation back off in here. I feel like I want to scale it a little bit more, just a little tiny bit. So just, you know, I'm trying to match this line, this contour line we got right here. That's underneath on the hand mesh. See this line, this segment right here, that segment continues all the way on. So I'm just trying to make sure that this line for the hand kind of goes over that a little bit. And I think that I like this. I like how it's conforming to the back of the palm. It's a little bit more even. It's encompassing the hand fully more as well. Let's see if we can rotate it on the z-axis a little bit more. So to make sure the joints are centered. See, that joint is, you can also move those up when we get to the fingers, but yeah, let's leave it like that. That looks pretty good. All right, I like that. Let's do save. Now we're going to go and look at laying out the fingers for this character. What you want to start with is I think they actually have their names on here. Let me see. Let's start with our index finger. It is our, oh man, I'm gonna butcher this, proximal mover, right? So the very first joint in the index finger, we want to get that to be in the right position. Now, when I say right position, let me explain that a little bit more. As you can see, the knuckles, like I said before, you have one knuckle here, and a knuckle here for, you know, bending the tip of your finger. Here's the tip of your finger, here's your middle knuckle, and then here's the knuckle that's deeper into the hand than where most people put it. So what we're going to do is we want to go to press W, and then pressing W will take you back to your XYZ position. It looks like it's in a good position already. I'm just going to move it over a little bit on the Z. And then we're going to go to our rotation and rotate this out on our Y. And rotate it down. We want to make sure these joints are in the right spot. I think we can get away with rotating or moving this on our Y a little bit just to move it down. But we're going to have to scale this too. So when looking at the fingers where your joints are, it looks like this joint needs to be all the way right here on this finger. Yeah, you can even see the lines. Oh, this is really detailed. So you see these lines on your hands right here. Use those as guides. You know, all models will not have that, sadly. But if you look at the topology and how it's laid out, you can get a really good idea of where you can see a bend will be and where blending will need to happen. So this will be where our joint, this black sphere right here, needs to be in this area. And then your blending is going to be from this row of segments and this row of segments to the hand to make sure when you bend your finger, it actually bends correctly. And then that means this joint is going to want to be down here so you can get the tip of the finger. So let's just go to our scale key, which is going to be R, and let's move this down a little bit. Move down meaning scale up. All right. It looks like we need to go a little bit more. Even more still. You can scale each joint of the finger But you want to make sure this is in the right spot. If it's not in the right spot, your hands are going to look busted when you start making a fist. Let's see. This looks like it's in the right spot right here. So let's grab this one and rotate it down. But see, that's way too much. So before we start scaling the rest of these joints in the finger, let's get this one. You want to get your top joint in the right spot first, so you don't have to keep going back and forth and tinkering around. So that doesn't really help too much, that wireframe. It's going to look like a mess to some people. But we want to make sure we're on that joint, or that rotation. Which I think we're close. We can probably scale it a little bit more, but I think that's our row of segments we want to be on right there. I might be down one more. Let me move this out the way so I can see. And how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to rotate this sucker back up so I can get a look at the finger again. And you can always undo. So let me go on the z-axis. Yeah, no, see, that's not right. See, so we're still up one. We need to go down to where it's right here on this one for our pivot. So you can just scale that up to go down one more. Just a little bit more. I know that looks huge, but you're going to want their pivots to be in the right spot. And then we'll have to scale down the other parts of the finger, which is fine. All right. So let's move this again. Let's rotate this away to see. That looks pretty good. It looks like it can still be down a little bit more. And this is where it's not glamorous. You know, you're being very nitpicky about things, but this is going to make your work look better in the long run. And you got to, you know, this is why rigging is its own thing. And we're using a rigger, like a tool to do this. A person that has to do this, you know, all from scratch, it's insane. It's insane. Everything needs to be aligned like crazy, like to a T, because it'll just everything will just get messed up, and then they're gonna have to deal with that. So, but rigging is its own discipline. It's come so far as well. And so what I'm doing, I'm still scaling, and I'm just rotating to track it and see how close I am to the joint. A little bit more. I think that might be good. Yeah, as you can see, this is our knuckle right here. I'm gonna do a little bit more, just because I want to make sure like that looks a lot better. Let me go back to here, see if I can see where my pivot is at. So you can see, hopefully you can see the line of segments. It looks like it's this one right here. If we look at the finger, yeah, it's this row of segments right here. This ring. That's where we want our pivot to be. And it looks like we're almost there. It just needs to be a little bit more, because here's our pivot right here. This center point. And you're going to have to try to visualize like between this cluster and this cluster where the center is. And so we're not quite there. We're almost there. I mean, if you're looking at it from this perspective, where if you look at this and draw a straight line down as